Hi, this is Lexi Frazier, and I am going to be talking to you about effective study strategies. So first, what are study strategies? Study strategies are intentional ways to learn and are used to complete a learning objective. These strategies help students store information and improve understanding. So basically, a teacher is going to teach their students these study strategies so that they can be an active part of class, so that they go beyond just memorization of information, but they can reach long-term storage and truly understand what they're learning. These strategies help students go beyond surface learning, such as memorizing facts and following steps without understanding, but we really want them to reach a deeper learning, which is making connections, applying concepts, and understanding relationships between each chapter. Ormrod tells us that there are two different types of learners. The first learner is a tell me what to do learner, and the second one is a let me apply it myself learner. The tell me what to do learner is really on the surface level of learning because they're just getting information from the board and writing it on the paper, or they're just following the steps of the assignment and not really searching for a deeper connection to themselves or even to Jesus. But the let me apply it myself learner is trying to make those connections and trying to make those concepts apply to other things in their life. So our first strategy that we're going to talk about is effective note-taking. Students learn better when they are physically able to write, and which is a reason why note-taking helps, but it also helps keep students' attention focused and helps encode information, which is just that deeper understanding of the information, and like it sticks better with them. And then it also helps them create study materials for later. So to have effective notes, we need to make sure that students are taking main ideas or taking down the main ideas, the supporting details, examples, and also, really importantly, writing notes in their own words, personal explanations. The reason why we want them to write things in their own words is because it helps with memory retention, because they're not just copying and pasting. It helps them it prevents the mindless copying, and later encourages them to have deeper thinking. To have effective note takers, we also need active readers. So some strategies that active readers possess are asking questions, they're making connections, they can summarize information, clarify confusing ideas, and monitor their own comprehension. So for that one, monitoring their own comprehension when they're reading, are they thinking about how, if they have fully understood what is going on, do they go back and reread it if they need to? Because these strategies are going to help students improve their retention and understanding of what they're reading about. So while our students are actively reading, they also need to start identifying important information. So before we study, we first have to get our information from somewhere. So we can get it from class or reading the materials, which is why we need the active reading. But when we take information from either of those sources, students must look for lesson objectives, bolded terms, repeated concepts, and any information that the teacher has written on the board, because that is obviously important, and we need to teach our students that is important. So whenever they are reading in the books and everything, we want them to understand how to highlight correctly, and this is just another strategy for them to use. Highlighting the correct way is highlighting the main ideas, key details, and color coding. For the color coding, I personally love doing this. Vocab, I always put vocab in green, examples in pink, main ideas in orange, and formulas in blue. Obviously, our students don't have to do it that way. That's just how I do it. But the wrong way to highlight is to highlight entire paragraphs or entire pages, because if you highlight everything, then nothing is going to stand out, and it kind of defeats the whole purpose of highlighting, and we want to have those little main ideas. So, my preferred method of studying is mnemonics. The book refers to the acronym in acoustics one as superimposed meaningful structures, but that is just the acronym. Roy G. Biv is to help you remember the rainbow, and then My Very Educated Mother Just Served Us Nachos is going to help us remember the order of the planets. And then we also can do rhymes and songs, I before E, except for after C. Obviously those all rhyme. And then the last method that I thought was interesting, all these like memory tricks help us understand these better, but this one was hard for me. The method of loci, what the book talks about, is I use the water cycle, having a cycle of something placed in a room of each house. So for the water cycle, you start off with evaporation at the front door, and it's turning into steam, which is floating up to your ceiling, where it becomes condensation. And as you move to the kitchen, the condensation, this is how I would remember it anyways, the condensation keeps getting denser and denser until you get into the kitchen, where precipitation is falling down on the cabinets. And then it starts to flow down off the cabinets onto the floor and down into the basement, where it becomes a big collection of water. And so that is how, I believe that is how someone would understand the method of loci, where you're just placing things in order in a house. I don't know if you can do it outside of a house. So all of these strategies help learners become self-regulated. And the qualities that a self-regulated learner possesses is they're able to set goals, they are able to manage their own time, they can stay motivated and monitor their own progress, and if they don't understand something, they have the ability to ask when they need help, which is a reflection on, are they reflecting on their learning? But this brings us to why these strategies matter, because we want our students who use the strategies to learn deeper, retain information longer, perform better academically, and become independent learners, so that later on in life, when they're graduating or they're getting into their new jobs, they can become successful. And that is almost all I have for you. I hope from this presentation you learned that studying harder is not always better, but studying smarter leads to more meaningful learning. And I hope you guys have a blessed day.